social media and your business and the impact on the Latino community. Now, why do we want to talk about that? Well, if you haven't noticed, everybody, no matter what language you speak, is on social media. And we also going to discuss what kind of impact that's had on, one, your businesses, the community, relationships, what I call a comadre network. If you don't know what that is, we'll talk about it today. And we're also going to discuss how education is being impacted by social media. So that being said, we're going to jump right into the first part of our show, which is what's going on in the community. So, guys, anybody been keeping up with the news? Anybody? Anybody?
Well, Academy Awards were last night.
I know. Did you watch The Fall?
Yeah, I saw that.
That's the only thing I remember about the show. That girl just bam! Oh, man, it was
God.
funny.
I don't think. Well, you know what? And I don't think Seth MacFarlane will be invited back. He was kind of a little on the dull side. But it was great. I mean, I'm glad to see Argo on.
Mm-hmm.
Which was controversial because of Ben Affleck playing a non-Latino, playing a Latino character.
Yeah. Affleck or Affleck?
Affleck, not Affleck, not the insurance. Affleck.
Why was that controversial?
Well, you know, he was snubbed. They didn't. He had, you know, usually if you get nominated for Best Picture, they always nominate the director also, and he was nominated. Because, you know, they just, you know, Hollywood is.
Yeah, but
know.
he wasn't he what, Goodwill? No, what
Goodwill
show?
Hunting? Yeah, it's the second time, but he had done such flops in the past, I guess. They just saw that he was not worthy.
But
so
he was playing
he
was playing a Latino character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and what was his name, Mendez?
Yeah. Tony Mendez, Antonio Mendez.
Who I believe claimed he wasn't as in touch with his cultural roots as people would like him to be, which was kind of controversial too when he said in an interview. So.
Well, you know, it was a little better with Ben Affleck playing a Latino than some of the.
But at least it wasn't George Clooney, who was also the producer on the show. What did have you seen the movie?
I haven't, but I've heard good things about it. Yeah.
So are you okay with Ben Affleck playing a Latino?
I am. Well, I mean, he kind of sort of looks Latino, so it wasn't too bad. So I think.
Maybe he's from like Monterey or something.
Yeah.
He's from Monterrey. I mean, cool. Everybody from Monterrey, you know what that means?
The old Cecil B. DeMille movie about Moses. What was his name? The old actor passed away a couple years ago that played Moses. I can't remember the name offhand, but I remember he played years ago. He played in a movie called The Mexican. Like they couldn't find enough Mexicans in Southern California. They had to get him to play the Mexican. Yeah. So.
Well, you know, it also shows kind of how Hollywood continues to change. You know, I personally, you know, that interview about Tony Mendez. There's a lot of people who believe that just because you have a Latino last name that you're Latino. Mm-hmm. You know, and there are a lot of people who think that because you have a so-called Anglo name, that you can't be Latino, and I think that's just totally false. That's my opinion, because you know nowadays you really can't tell who's who and what's what.
You know, there are so many Latinos that I think they estimate like 10% that have Anglo names that are Latino.
And what is it? Honestly, what does it matter? Because we've had Latinos here who were Latinos in the U.S. before it was the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
exactly.
so
like Tejanos.
Yeah, the country's changed around them. It's not the other way around. You know, they didn't move around. They've had the same piece of land, the same spot, all their generations. You know,
hey, I have relatives in my family on the border. O'Brien. I remember, you know, I've had.
So you're Irish.
In retail, you know, years ago, I had a bunch of Irish. I had McLean's, I had O'Brien's, I had O'Toole's. I mean, you name it, and they all could speak a word of English. So they all said they'd been in Mexico for years. His grandfather. No, that's a funny story, but the grandfather, you know, from the San Patricio Corps, the Mexican-American War that ended up fighting for the Mexican army. You just stayed in Mexico, and you know now there's a bunch of Irish Latinos running around in Mexico.
But don't you think that kind of starts some of the internal segregation that Latinos actually do amongst themselves? Do you believe that there's internal segregation or
absolutely.
prejudice?
Yeah. I mean, I see it a lot within just in general. It's definitely, I do see the segregation and such that, I mean.
Like how? I mean, how have you experienced it?
Being judged because you don't look white, or because you look white and not Hispanic, people kind of like, oh, well, you know, she's not Hispanic, or vice versa, or you not looking Hispanic and looking a different race.
So you don't look Hispanic enough.
Yeah, Hispanic enough, and therefore you're not Hispanic, or you're not considered Hispanic or Latino.
So you've experienced stuff like that?
Not personally, but I do have friends. One of my friends, she's Colombian, and she considers herself Hispanic, and she gets told that she's black. She's like, "No, you're black." She's like, "No, I'm Hispanic." So I mean, I see it.
Afro-Latino.
They're Afro-Latinos.
Yeah.
But why do you have to segregate and put Afro in front of it? Why can't they just be Latino?
Exactly.
Well, you know, look at the novelas. I know my good friend Jose Diaz from Buenos Dias Bakery likes to tell.
All he does is watch novelas all day long.
Yeah, that's all he does
He's
anyway.
got the novela blasting all day long.
But you know, he says, look, he goes, you know, and he's you know, maybe a little bit lighter than me, but he said, you know what, if I was on novela, I'd play the servant, you know, and you would play, you know, and if you're a light-skinned Latino, you play the big landowner, you know, stuff like that.
The main role.
You know, and you know, from what I
That's
understand, you know, it's not so much here in the States, but in Mexico, it's a big deal whether you have more European roots and have the more European look than if you have the indigenous, you know, the color and the looks of the indigenous people of Mexico and the rest of the continent there. But you know, it's you know, I guess we don't feel it here. But,
So where's your family from?
Oh man, for me saying, man, we talking about? No, my family has been here for over 100 years, and they came from northern Mexico. My grandfather.
Okay, so where were you born?
I was born in East LA.
You were born in East LA?
East LA.
So they wrote the song about you.
That's it, man. That was it.
And you, where were you born?
Corpus Christi.
Okay.
Representing all my family's from South Texas. Same thing, both sides of my family, 100 years and more.
Yeah.
And my dad does genealogy. He traced one part of my family back to the Apache reservations. And they changed their last name so they can assimilate to the Hispanic culture.
You know what? I had the same thing. You know, I didn't. Know,
Interesting,
I had no idea that when my grandfather passed, he was an Indian scout. Matter of fact, he was on the run in 1910, the Mexican Revolution. He was on the run from the Federales, and he changed his name when he got to this side. He had an Indian name, a Nahuatl name, and he changed it to Perez. I had no idea up until just a few years ago that he had
Wow.
actually changed. I thought we were Perez all the way down to Spain. Oh, man. You know, no way. So who knows what my?
Sorry, you don't look very Spanish to me. That's a
I don't look
stretch.
very Castilian. No?
And where are you from?
I was born and raised here, but my family's from Guanajuato, Mexico.
First generation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Tell you, can't stop us. We're growing.
Well, you know, I think it's going to end up, honestly, it doesn't really matter. In my opinion, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're all Americans, period.
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely.
And the more we keep focusing on how we are different, the more differences we're going to keep identifying.
Well, you know, but you have to think about it though, Jose, because we're the Latinos in the Mexican Americans, especially, we're not the ones that connotated the name Mexican Americans. That was given to us by the Anglo establishment. And I remember taking this at U of H in Lorenzo Cano's class.
No.
Man, we weren't good enough to be Americans, so they had to put Mexican in front of it. That's why.
Damn.
But you know,
But
that's true.
nowadays, what does it matter?
There's still, you know, that element is still out there. That element, believe me, that element is still out there.
Really?
I mean, you know, look, you know what really?
Does it matter?
Well, you know, I hate
age?
to go to
No.
politics. I hate to go to politics, but you know, you look at conservative Republican politics, and you look like guys like David Medina, who was one of the most qualified persons that ran for re-election from Supreme Court, that was appointed by the governor. So this guy had it, and the guy that ran against him said, "I'd be a fool not to run against him because of his Spanish surname."
And he lost.
And he lost. And he lost. David Medina, one of the most qualified persons ever to sit on the bench, loses because he's a dark, ethnic-looking Latino, and he ran against an Anglo, and he you know, just because of that and how he looked, he didn't win. And the Republican Party didn't, you know, they vote. And this is in the primary. This is not even in the general, in the primary. That's my big beef with the Republican
Well, I
Party.
mean, there's-
they need to start backing Latino candidates.
But Ted Cruz is a senator. He's the first Latino senator out there. He's Cuban American, whatever you want to call him. He's a Latino. Ted Cruz. How more Latino can you get?
Well,
Teodoro?
okay,
No,
Ted Cruz, he is about as Latino as I am Anglo. Okay, you know, Ted Cruz hasn't been Latino for a long
no, please
time.
please do not misconstrue me making any type of justification for Ted Cruz. whatsoever. Please make that real clear. I'm not in any way, shape, or form supporter of either one of those senators that we have in place. But fact is, we have a person who claims to be Latino. Name is Ted Cruz, and he won, and he's up there in the Capitol making waves. Good or bad, he's making waves. I mean, y'all keeping up with that?
Well, you know, I know he does not hold.
Here in Texas, he goes out in the country. He's a superstar.
Oh yeah.
He is. I mean, he
I'm
gets
sure
big
he
old
is,
rallies, and
But
Tea Party's all behind him.
Yeah, people thought they were voting for, like, you know, he thought he was a relative of
Jose Cruz?
Jose Cruz. Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. I mean, what's your opinion of, I mean, have you kept up with state politics and Ted Cruz, or does that ring a bell at all?
A little, not so much.
Okay.
Well, Ted Cruz also isn't representative of the Texas Latino. There's not too many Cubans or Colombians as opposed to Mexican Americans or Mexican immigrants to Texas. That's more like a Florida is more, you know, Cuban. And
Well, we had
whatnot.
Orlando Sanchez, a city council member here, and he was a Latino. Or he is. I mean, I don't know if you go way back.
And then also, you also start getting into that our voter participation rates. I mean, what are our rates for Texas? You know, do we vote in our proportions that we should be? And if we did, would we be talking about a Ted Cruz right now?
Yeah, I'll let you handle that.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause
Yeah, that's true.
is it really race or is it socioeconomics?
Is what race or socioeconomic?
No, like the reason why people don't vote, is it really because of their race or their
Socioeconomics.
Or
I
their-
think
I think
it's
yeah.
more closely tied to.
I think it's probably more
Socioeconomic
socioeconomics.
status.
I agree with.
You know,
I
because
agree with.
there's a thing, and I call it a thing. It's not really a thing. It's a block of voters. There's the senior vote. At the senior level, the voting, the ethnicity doesn't matter anymore because you go to Denver Harbor, the majority of the senior vote is Latino, but now they're all seniors, and they're the ones that truly control the vote in the east side and in the north side. They're Latinos. They vote.
Yeah, you know what, Jose, and I hate to say this, but I think it's true, and people know this is true. If Ted Cruz had the face of David Medina, he would have never won that election.
Oh,
I'll
strong
tell you that
statement right
now.
there.
I tell you that right now.
Well, since we're talking about politics, how about sequestrian? That's coming up really fast, and that's a hot button.
What is that?
The
I'm ignorant.
sequestrian. They need to pass a
cuts?
budget. Yeah, the cuts before.
The automatic
Oh,
cuts.
okay. The federal cuts.
Yeah, before I get furloughed for a few days. So, because I'm a government employee, so it's
Yeah.
going to affect me in my pocketbook.
So for the regular taxpayer who's all in support of that, the Tea Partier, so what do you need to work for?
Yeah.
Why should I care about your job?
Because I got a mouth to feed. Future mouths to feed. I don't have any kids yet. So,
Okay. You know,
but my employees, I do manage 30 employees, and they have families and kids.
And you know what's gonna
hurt them bad?
The thing that's gonna pass that, the reason they're gonna have to, because it's not only cutting normal people, and you know, like yourself that actually have to, but it's gonna cut defensive contracts. It's gonna cut a lot of these big contracts with these different big companies that are going to be losing a lot of money. That's what's going to turn the tide right there.
So why
That's
should
what's
we
gonna do it.
care? I mean, honestly, isn't that a good thing? We're trying to cut the budget, trying to save money. We're broke anyways. We're living off credit cards. The federal government is broke. Why should we care?
Well, I don't want the regular guy to be broke. I'd rather the big companies broke.
What do you think about this whole economy? Does it impact you in school, or you heard about any of that stuff?
Well, I mean, depending on what exactly gets cut, it will impact not only me, but I think a lot of families. And I mean,
Yeah, like a lot of people don't understand like the government, how much the government really provides, and road repair and utility services, and all that's going to be affected at some point.
as far as
The
school,
tuition.
yeah, tuition. I mean, U of H just raised their tuition. Now, if I know a lot of students, they go to school because FAFSA gives them enough money to go to school. Now, if that's cut, it's going to leave a lot of students not being able to continue their studies. But then they're not going to, you know, if they have no way of paying for it, they won't be able to continue. And I don't think that's fair.
Why not? I mean, why should the taxpayer fund college education? Why should they keep giving out loans and free grants when their parents didn't save for them? That's the mantra of the Tea Party, isn't it? I mean, the new current political power says if you can't afford it, why are you getting educated?
Everyone needs an education.
Why? As you can tell, I'm playing devil's advocate here. So please don't believe. I mean, I'm a strong believer in education, but politics and the public media keep saying that if you can't afford it, don't do it.
But it's I see it as an investment.
Absolutely, it's an
I mean,
investment in the future of the country.
You get it if you get somebody educated who maybe grew up from impoverished, you're making an investment in your community. Engineers, doctors.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's an investment in the future of the country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're the most powerful country on this earth.
No, we think we're the most powerful country.
Well, I'm talking about basically military-wise, all right? And we're what 10th, 11th, something like that in education.
You're a little bit too high right there.
You're aiming high.
Am I shooting it too high?
Yeah.
And I say this respectfully, but we have to be honest. If we want to become better, we can't believe that we're always going to be number one. That's the number one rule in business. You can't worry about thinking that you're so far ahead you don't have to worry about your competition behind you. On the contrary, if you're ahead of them, you have to get even further out. You have to keep making yourself even more different. You know, and oh man, we got on a hot topic.
You know, that was
right
pretty
there.
cool. We went from the Academy Awards, and that took care of all society right there.
Look, the reason we're doing this is because right now you just heard several different perspectives on how people think. We have people, I didn't even tell you where I'm from. I was born in El Paso, Texas.
The safest big city in the country.
The safest big city in the country, El Paso, Texas. My family's from Porvenir, Juarez, Chihuahua. My mom was born in New Mexico. My dad was born in Juarez. And I have a very diverse background in education. I'm a big believer in funding and providing for higher education for those that want it, right? And then on top of that, even if they don't want it, if you can find it for them. Military, I'm extremely pro-military. The education I got from them is like second to none. But that being said, it is getting ridiculous how much it costs. I mean, college education is more than doubled in 10 years. Mm-hmm. When I went to college 10 years ago, I mean, it was half the cost that it is right now. That's just insane. And the professors didn't get that much raises. But there was an article that came out that showed that higher education administration got a 10% raise, 9-point-something% raise. Yeah. So tell me, if tuitions are going up and the only people that are getting significant raises are the administration, why are we doing that? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I hope that, and the one thing that I think higher education does, or the biggest thing that it does, is it changes people's values. You might get an education, but it does change your values. Think about it. I don't know about your experience. What you valued now to what you valued in high school has changed. And in middle school, things kind of progress, and the older you get, the more we value different things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But if you don't get a higher education, your values don't change, and you can easily tell that in the neighborhoods. In my business, brand new, huge trucks, Escalades, $50,000, $60,000 vehicles, and still can't afford to buy a house. So little things like that is where I think college and higher education changes the way we see things. You agree, disagree?
No, I completely agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you experienced
I'll buy that.
value change?
No, but I've seen that. Like from the people that I went to high school who didn't continue their education, I do see that they will rather spend their money on a new Camaro than use that money and pay for some classes at a community college. Mm-hmm. I see that, and I see how.
Probably because they're at the FAFSA line with their new Camaro.
Oh. Ouch. Okay. So as you can tell, we are not going to agree on the same thing, but in what's going on out there, the one thing that keeps us all engaged is the way we get that information. We get it through regular news, which is now becoming one of the second or third ways of getting information. Number one way we get information today is through social media. We get it through the posts of other people. We find out which big star or big disaster or big catastrophe happened through Facebook before we find out through the regular news. Like, for example, I learned about Jenny Rivera, the singer, dying before anybody else did, through a post of a DJ who was a friend of the family and blah, blah, blah. The next thing you know, I posted it and people were posting me back saying, no, you're wrong, it didn't happen. This was hours before it was announced publicly, and then once the news confirmed it, they came back and said, oh, you're right. So, what I call the social media comadre network, all of a sudden it just spreads like wildfire. True, false, real, indifferent, it goes out like crazy. So that being said, We're going to take a quick break right now. We're going to come back and get into the impact of social media and the way we live today. You're watching Latino Talk TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Latino Talk TV here live at Houston Media Source in the greater East End of Houston. You know, better yet, we're in Texas, and if you're watching this online, you're here, okay? So thank you for watching us. Now we have Ms. Jackie Gill, who is going to speak to us about social media and the impact of some of the things that have occurred. And we also have another guest from the University of Houston.
From San Jacinto College.
San Jacinto College, okay. Welcome to the show also. And your name is?
Angelica Rodriguez.
All right, nice and rowdy. Miss Jackie Gill, welcome.
Of course. Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it. Well, I have my own web series called Color with Jackie Gill, and I also am a part of the Latism movement, if you will. It's Latinos in technology, innovations, and social media. And, you know, we form part of the Houston chapter here, and we're so proud to be a part of this movement because, as you were saying earlier, social media has impacted the way that we receive news now. And, you know, it does spread like wildfire. And, but, you know, I'm really happy to be here.
Well,
thank you so much for inviting.
Thank you. And I want to, this is an open conversation that we're going to have, and because I think all of us are involved in social media one way or the other. Do we all have Facebook accounts, Twitter accounts?
Facebook, Twitter.
Of course, everything.
Everything, right?
Yes, we do.
So, the reality is that social media, there's no such thing as what I consider as an expert, because there's so many areas of being an expert in, right? Like, for example, if you can just start rattling off some of these websites that are out there, like, of course, Facebook. If you don't have a Facebook account, you're like old, and even our grandparents have Facebook accounts, right?
That's true.
And the funny thing is, it hasn't faded away like MySpace. It's going strong. You know, if you were in MySpace, you were like laughed at, right?
No, yeah.
Now you're like, why are you on MySpace?
mind. Let me cancel that.
Yeah, okay, you
If
can,
you're the guilty one.
did y'all have a MySpace account?
I did have a MySpace account, but then all of a sudden they started telling me, hey, you know, you're not on Facebook. And I'm like, no, what's Facebook? And then I got on Facebook, and MySpace just no more MySpace.
And Justin Timberlake bought MySpace.
Right, I heard that.
What a
that he
waste of
did
money.
that, Yes.
I mean,
Oh my god.
I guess once it was at its peak, you know, it's good, you know, if you invest in it, but once it's over with, I mean,
So
there's
how
no
old
bringing
were
it
you
back.
when you were on MySpace? You don't look old enough to
I'm
even know.
23, so I mean, I was.
You're 23?
Yes.
You're 23 now, so you were
Wow.
what, about 13?
No, I was
8,
16. I think.
16?
16?
Look at you.
Because he was on MySpace.
How long did MySpace?
I had like a
I think I did it
2-year.
for like a
2 years?
I had like 2 years.
I don't know. I
Everyone.
was on High Five. Does anybody remember High Five? That was our college Facebook page.
High
somewhat.
Five.
High Five. That's in 2001, 2002. High Five was the Facebook.
Wow.
At U of H too, at the University of Houston.
Okay.
And it obviously transitioned to other things. I don't remember. I think it was MySpace, and then obviously, you know, Facebook took off. But now you have, you know, you have Pinterest, you have Instagram, you have Ustream, Livestream,
Tumblr.
Google Hangouts. I mean, you name it. There's something for
yeah.
everybody.
What else is out there to see? Instagram is big, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
And it's growing.
it
Well,
is.
my first experience, I had a stone block, a hammer, and a chisel.
You did?
That's what we did.
He wrote letters
I wrote numbers.
to his,
Commandment number 1.
to his wife. I love
Number 2.
With the inkwell.
you. So there's all that, and also like now I've heard of a Reddit. You ever heard of Reddit?
Well, that's not
REDDIT.
necessarily new. That's
Yeah.
For news is like supposedly you read news there first before it goes on to the big media.
yeah. A lot of stuff ends up going viral from Reddit. You post it in Reddit, and you know it just goes viral from there. So
Wow.
it's more like a forum.
So tell me about El Gato. And what is that? I mean, because that was an online deal
Yeah,
too,
well,
right?
well, El Gato is or EGMN is our official name. EGMN is a
For those that don't know what it is, you just said right now.
EGMN, El Gato Media Network, is
Okay.
a nonprofit that develops, like I said earlier, develops media students who are in college to become media professionals, and it encompasses everything from journalism to social media to photography, filmmaking, media production, and all that good stuff. So, I've had probably like over 100 students, and we have like 35 alumni right now. And the average, when the student majors in media or communications, only about 20% of them nationwide actually get a full-time job in media after they graduate. Most of them become teachers or rock scientists or anything but media. But we've been really lucky, and the vast majority of my alumni students have actually landed jobs in media, Spanish media, English media. I don't have too many students who end up doing something else besides media. So we've been really successful in placing
And
Hispanics
what
in media
encompasses
professionals.
media? When you describe media, what are you exactly talking about?
Photography, video, journalism, online, social media, PR.
Broadcasting.
So
radio.
someone
Broadcasting,
graduating
radio.
with a degree in media, you're saying only 20% of them actually? Wow.
Get a full-time job in it, yeah.
So from y'all, y'all are studying media right now?
We're both broadcast.
Okay, broadcast majors.
Journalism.
So tell us where you got the inspiration, how it happened, and give us a whole trajectory of how you got to here today.
Here today.
Well, for me, it was even from whenever I was little, just, you know, watching TV and watching TV and, you know, being with my parents and watching TV. So I know, and I've been knowing that I've been wanting to do reporting for a while, and that has inspired me, you know.
So what?
And what was your first exposure to social media? When did it hit you that, you know what, this is important, I need to get in on this? Was it just the friends, all the other friends doing it and all the social things, or did you
I think that's how it starts. Your
Yeah.
friends tell you, you're not on Facebook, how do you not know what's going on? Or how do you find out what's going on, about what's going on? And it wasn't until recently that, from Ray, who told me that social media is a good way to start your
network?
name. Start your network and start putting your name out there.
Yeah.
And getting
Yeah.
to know people.
And getting to networking, yeah.
Speaking of networking, we have one of our show hosts on the phone. Mr. Compian, how are you, sir?
Hey, Jose, how you doing?
Good. You're live on the air. We miss you.
Hey, I wanted to ask the young man, Ray,
Uh-huh.
about El Gato and how can they implement that to get the young Hispanic people engaged, social media, everything, and get them registered voting and to actually get out the vote.
That's a very good question. Okay. Any ideas?
Well, social media, I run into this a lot because right now a lot of companies are approaching me for social media, and that's the thing. How do you start kickstart a campaign? First of all, it's going to take a lot of resources. It's more than just doing a post. You need to find that person who is witty and who can get comments, on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your Pinterest, on your Instagram. So it's more than just having some teenager who thinks they can post. You really need somebody who's trained in data analytics and in knowing your reach. And there's just not a lot of those experts right now. And for the getting out the vote effort, those type of nonprofits and campaigns don't have the resources to pay a social media expert. So they usually just get teen volunteers who are really not that effective. So you really want to invest in a social media expert and really vet them well for, have they ran ad campaigns before? Have they ran company websites before? So you really want to vet them well for their social media skills.
Greg, I think I'm going to go into a new career now. I'm going to go into a social media expert. Hey, good question, Greg.
Another thing that I was glad to see is female participation in the show. You go, girls.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, man. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye. That's a very good point because you can have 5,000 friends on Facebook and then they cap it, right? I mean, you can just keep trying to find
Did you
people.
get capped?
Yeah, I got capped.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you.
I got capped. In Facebook, you can get capped. You can only get 5,000 friends. But having 5,000 friends on there, you still have to know how to engage people. And that point right there, intentionally knowing how to throw that stone or to make like in the pond, throw that stone in the water and make the ripples happen. Because you can just be on there, no one really cares that you bought a Starbucks and you went to the store, and you got to know how to use it.
And just because you have 5,000 friends doesn't mean that they're all paying attention to one thing. You have to really put yourself out there and show. I mean, you can have 5,000 friends and only have 300 like your post, so it's a big deal for you to really actually try and put yourself out there so other people can pay attention to your posts.
One of the things that's very important is consistency. The times that you post, when you post, just having it consistent. I did an experiment last year and it didn't go so well because I was very inconsistent. And that was something that you learn. It's trial and error. A lot of it, when it comes to social media, it's trial and error. If you're not consistent with all your posts, for example, for me, it's the web series, you're not going to have a lot of engagement. But because this year it's changing and I revamped the way that I was going to market the show, I've received a lot of interaction. And so now I have thousands of people that engage, and I didn't have that before. And that's really good for me and, what I intend to do with the show. And so I'm very happy to share that, that I was able to accomplish that, but just being consistent and posting things that are relevant to my audience. And because I post for women, Latinas that are successful or that, they can take away from inspirational stories, I've been receiving a lot of engagement from them, and they are writing to me and they're very thankful that I'm doing this. And that is really what counts at the end of the day. It's that people are directly writing to me saying, you know what, we needed this in our community, and I'm glad that you're actually doing it. And it's just that you have to be consistent when it comes to content creation. I know the audience too and what they like.
You can also really hurt your brand because we were talking about the Academy Awards, and the Onion just posted a controversial tweet about the little 9-year-old girl. They called her the C word, and as soon as they tweeted it. It starts with the C, ends with the T, 4-letter word.
What?
A
Really?
9-year-old actress girl.
Oh my
Okay,
goodness.
run that by me again. They did
So
what?
the Onion has a Twitter account, right? And and they do a lot of satire of news and information. And so I don't know what award she was getting or if she even got an award, but it's a 9-year-old actress, and they sent out a tweet saying something about I forgot what it was about, but they called her the C word. And so as soon as they tweeted it, they got instant response, backlash. And then within, and then as soon as they posted it, they deleted it, but it was too late already. People put up screenshots, and so the CEO had to come out today and, and apologize, profusely apologize. But, that kind of stuff, just a little slip up by your social media expert will really hurt your brand, and that's why you don't necessarily want young college kids or young teens running your social media, because they're not always aware of some of this, how it can hurt your brand or your message.
But that's just very disrespectful, period, to be calling a 9-year-old that word.
Yeah,
that's very inappropriate.
It was
But
very bad.
Isn't that one of, I personally think that's one of the bad things about social media is how people can hide behind false names. I mean, look on the newspaper sites and how people post, I don't call it posting, I call it vomiting on those sites. I mean, it's like these people, they sit behind there and, however they're doing it, posting at home, and they just vomit every time anything's out there that they don't agree with. Especially during political seasons, oh my goodness, it's ridiculous, and there's just the hatred that's out there.
I think it's, politics is one of the ones, I mean, it really engages all social media. It's just something that people can side very heavily, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever it is, that really heats up people. It's one of the most talked about subjects online still.
Well, that's also why the news websites are going to Facebook comments now. So if you leave a comment, it's tied to your Facebook, so that cleans up a lot of the language.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's okay to state your opinion, but if you're gonna say it, why not show your face? Why not show yourself instead of giving yourself a
anonymous name
and
That's
no
true.
picture, and nobody knows what you're saying. I mean, it doesn't really matter. So if you put your face on it and you really mean it, put a face on
You're
it.
less bound to say something that's gonna hurt your reputation.
But now I'm going to play devil's advocate here, because what about if there are certain instances when people should voice their opinion and they may not want to say it, because it may hurt their careers, and that could probably affect them personally and their families.
But
So
that's activism.
it is activism.
It's good old-fashioned activism. It's the same thing.
It is, but just like there's activism, there's also blacklisting, and so it can really affect certain people. I don't completely disagree with people who are anonymous, as long as they're being respectful and they do know their facts, especially because there has to be sort of that engagement, that back and forth.
Well,
it would be nice to.
There's always ways to disagree with people without being blacklisted. I mean, you just got to be able to be respectful and professional about it. And,
True.
Yeah, it's okay to disagree, but
Well, change hasn't been made in this country by being respectful and cooperative the entire time. I mean, come on now, let's look back in history here. The revolutions didn't happen by people who were just sitting around saying, please,
That's
help
true.
us.
Have to speak up.
And they weren't doing it anonymously.
They were not doing
Yeah, they were not doing it
You knew
anonymously.
exactly who Martin Luther King was. You knew who Malcolm X was. You knew who Cesar Chavez was. I mean, you know who Dolores Huerta is. We know them. And it wasn't because they were sitting there saying, we'll follow all the rules.
well, I mean, they were probably trying to get into something better, but when you're doing something bad and you're not, like, if you're writing something that's bad, that's not good. But if you're doing it for a good reason, like you're saying Martin Luther King, but he was doing it for a good reason, so I mean, that's okay, like what you're saying, but it's not good whenever you're on the internet and you're posting anonymously and you're doing bad comments.
And using like Rosa Parks, if you haven't done this, I highly recommend you study the history of Rosa Parks after she got on the front seat. It wasn't pretty, and it wasn't like the community just came out of everywhere and just financially supported her.
Right.
So people who take on the stand of being a community activist, they pay a huge price. What I call a true activist. A true activist. There's people who are out there who throw stones and run, and we all know activists that do that kind of stuff. But a true activist who stays in the game consistently, and my hat's off to those types of activists, because it's a hard business to do. And being an activist doesn't pay. A real activist.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like a real pasture.
Another thing that social media can also hurt your career. I've heard of many teachers, for instance, who get fired because of certain things they post or pictures that they post or Twitter, even if it's not them or if they're just tagged on something and let's say your boss was to see it, that could also hurt you.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
come on,
If you
young
complain
people
about
out
work.
there.
Yes.
Please stop posting some of the ridiculous things you're posting out there. Employers look at that.
Exactly.
I mean,
I
can
do
give you
it. I ain't gonna
example
lie, I
after
do it.
example. They look, and
You
guys,
look at people's.
oh man, and please, I mean, it was funny, but my wife worked for a small PR firm, and she said that somebody sent in a resume, and the email address that they were using was like pole dancer 69. I said, come on, that resume went straight to the garbage. And she
can't
was
be
very
that dumb.
qualified. She was very qualified. And she
Maybe
said,
they
no,
meant
she just-
political dancer.
Porn watcher, like. Okay, on that note, oh goodness. Okay, so let's cover some don'ts, some social media don'ts. Okay, a social media don't.
Don't say you're bored at work, because I mean,
That will
people
get
are
you fired.
watching and your employer is watching, and you're bored, you have nothing to do. Don't put your job down, because then you'll lose it.
Don't insult your bosses.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, I say don't be yourself, but
Don't be yourself.
No, be yourself, but don't be. I don't know the word for it.
You can say it in Spanish if you want.
I don't know it in Spanish either. We talked about this the other day. Don't be. It's your brand. You're promoting yourself, so don't do anything that's gonna degrade you.
Yeah.
So no goofy looking pictures.
Young
Yeah.
ladies, and don't post pictures of yourself in the bedroom. Sitting on your bed. Come on. I mean, my goodness.
And guys too. Don't be.
I've heard not say who I saw do that, but
No,
after I
guys
told
do
them,
it too.
After I told them about it, I
Yeah.
was defriended. So it was a relative. I said, "Don't do that." No, they defriended us. So.
Men and women. I mean, it's like there's certain places that you just don't want people to join you.
Oh yeah,
in your
absolutely.
house.
It's almost like if you wouldn't want to show it to your minister, don't post it.
That's a good rule right there.
Yeah.
Your pastor, your preacher, your.
Exactly.
Okay. Like my biggest pet peeve is seeing people take pictures of themselves in their bathrooms.
Oh yes, mirror
It's like,
pictures so
seriously,
popular.
people? Mirror pictures, like.
And then you can't see your face; it's just a big flash.
A big flash, yeah.
Or your clothes on the floor behind you.
Oh no.
Oh man.
Make sure to flush before you drink.
Don't post drunk. Don't post. If you're a little bit tipsy, stay off the social media.
Don't drink and post.
No,
That's
no.
like
Stay off your phone, period.
Don't drink and drive. Don't drink and dial. Don't drink and post.
There you go. What you got?
I guess one of my things that I really dislike is couples that post,
That they're in
very
love?
affectionate, all of those affectionate things on Facebook. I really get turned off by that. I defriend people. I don't
that
know
why you defriended me?
I'm sorry.
Holy smokes! Okay. I wonder what happened to you, Jackie.
Don't show people you're in love.
No, I mean, I think that to some capacity, yes, you can, you can show affection, but I think that there's certain, it's like too much public display.
PDA. You don't like PDA.
I
Show
don't like
affection.
PDA.
There's
It's
a
just, it's
line.
like there's a time and a place, and I think you need to keep those things private, but not, tell the world.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in love, and my boo and we're going to the restaurant.
My boo and I
drives
going
me
to the
insane.
restaurant? That
I
drives
don't
you
know.
insane? Wow.
People, well, no, just different things. Like,
Why are you talking about me?
She's tough.
I would also say don't put all your problems on Facebook.
Right.
And
Oh,
then
yes,
You put all
absolutely.
your problems, and it's like this novela, and then you say,
That's right.
I love him. It's like, really? You were just mad like 5 minutes ago on the last post that you erased,
I completely agree with that one. Yeah, I do.
Javier's like, man, I
like-
have to change my rules.
Well, that's a third strike for me. I guess I have to get off social media.
Yeah, that's it.
That's so for
Hold
people
your
that are
account.
in business or professionals, Facebook
it
is your
professional.
image. I'll be honest with you, I play around with it. I don't know if we're friends on Facebook or not, but I
Yes.
play with it. I play with it on purpose, and I'm conscious of what I'm doing and when I'm doing it. So there's a fine line to play because in my business, I can't be business 110% of the time. I have to be a person also, but I have to also know how to be business, and it's tough for certain people. Like politicians that play on their accounts, and it's tough being a politician or tough being a certain type of business person out there because they can't post what they're thinking.
Yeah.
I think that's where the dangerous things happen. Don't post what you're thinking. I don't know. Do y'all post what you're thinking?
I don't. I mean, there's times when I'm thinking, I'm really upset. I'm not going to post it on Facebook just to tell the world, I'm
Can I
really
adopt
mad
you?
at this person.
No, you're like the ideal one.
You young ladies seem to
add
have
me on
very, very good head on their shoulders.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I tell you, that's rare.
Yeah.
That's not
It
very
is.
common.
In all seriousness, when you apply for a job, if you give a person that information, there's people who say, you can't check up on my Facebook account. It's like, you
It's
put
public.
yourself out there. I can Google you. If it comes up on Google,
There
Yeah.
it is.
it's on. If I see it, and the truth is, there's a lot of first impressions that happen from that.
Yeah.
And if you look rough and crazy on your Facebook pictures and you're trying to apply for a job, how are you going to look when you're at
Yeah.
work?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's seriously.
They don't realize that. Some of these the youngsters these days don't realize that.
It's
You know, I think it just
is
goes
a
away.
balancing
It
act
doesn't.
because like you said, if you're too professional, you're not going to be able to connect with your audience.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to find that balance of how do I give them a little bit without giving them too much and overstepping your boundaries and that stuff.
And I've had people post to me and say, I can't believe you listen to that type of music. It's like, oh, well, then get used, get over it. It doesn't mean I'm less of a business person, or it doesn't mean I won't be able to handle your situation. It's like, yeah, I'm human.
Well, let me ask the experts, and I'm talking to you, Jackie, and you, Ray, and ladies. Since you're so experienced with, for I guess an adult, maybe older adult that is thinking about getting on Facebook, what should they be on? Should they be on Facebook? Should they be on? Now you said Instagram and on the other some of the things. You said I have no idea what that is, but let me know if I should be on it. Is what I want to know.
We have a phone call coming in. They're gonna ask. We're gonna answer that in a little bit. Hi, caller. You're on the air. You have a question?
I just had a comment. I just wanted to say that it's really important, I guess, with social media
Uh-huh.
to assume that anything you do on the internet is going to be seen and that it will be traced back to you.
Absolutely.
That way it'll minimize a lot of the nonsense and people will
Absolutely.
think twice before they post insensitive comments.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks
That's
for
right.
calling in. And we're actually running out. Okay, we're out of time? No? Sorry, once again, a technical difficulty on live television. All right, so we actually got to wrap it up because we're out of a few minutes out of time, in all honesty. But so answer his question.
Yeah, what should I be on? I'm not a young professional, but hey, I'm still in there.
Do you want to network?
Absolutely.
I would say get on LinkedIn. I'm sure you already
Yeah, I'm
have
on
a
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is
Okay.
That is a very, I've made a lot of business connections through LinkedIn, and they're very legitimate. And people normally, when they're on LinkedIn, it's very professional. And it's a business. I think Facebook is a little bit tricky, but you can certainly have your business profile and just make sure that whatever you post, you're not posting that you're drinking. I mean, yes, people do drink, but as long as it's not where it's, it's just puro party, because it's not good. People will not take you serious,
Right.
and that is a fact. What recommendations would you have?
Are you on Twitter?
That's week.
I would really-
I've fooled around with it. I haven't really got into it.
especially
pretty
with
heavy
somebody
yet.
who's in your line of work, I mean, involved in the community, leadership positions, because it's very information heavy. So if you get in there, get used to it, you can have your list for community activism, you can have your list for reporters, you can have your list for whatever segments, and like you mentioned earlier, you'll get the news before it hits the websites.
It's true.
The Twitter is instantaneous, so Twitter is very powerful. Now, for websites, it doesn't get a lot of traffic to your website, but for informational purposes, you want Twitter.
Or if you have an event, since you are ahead of Talento Bilingüe de Houston, perhaps that could even be your channel or your way of disseminating information about programs, any guests that you may have, coming up.
I have a suggestion though. If you get Facebook and you're trying to do it for your business, I would say don't just talk about your business all the time. Get a little personal, and I don't mean put your drama on there, but you still have to interact with people as you're yourself, you know, because I mean, I can post my article that I write so many times, and if I don't still like my friends, you know, baby pictures or say, you know, how cute, you know, I still interact with my friends or with people that are on there. I don't just, but then you're just promoting and promoting and promoting. People get tired of looking at it.
Angelica, I got a great
Mix
job for
it
you.
up.
You'd be the Dear Abby of the social media.
Oh, si es
Dear
mensa.
Angelica, what should I do?
Ya cállate. Anything else?
Same with about what Angelica was saying. Same with Twitter. Same advice goes to Twitter. I would say keep it professional, but not too professional, and just add your personality.
Now, what about some of these other programs I heard you talking about? I mean, these other
Pinterest.
Pinterest and
I don't know
and-
too many guys that are on Pinterest.
Yeah, guys are not-
Pinterest. I'm sorry.
I think it's just to get to how to know to make
No.
things
Well,
at
no, there's
home.
some guys
Yeah,
on there.
if you want to do braids
Not this
or
guy.
hair or
I
cute
think
outfits.
Pinterest would be ideal for a business that does like remodeling. I mean,
Yeah.
for example, like you know, Lowe's, for example, has seen their actual marketing dollars, not marketing dollars, but their sales, you know, go up because they have been posting a lot of like, you know, DIY projects, and so they're using, you know, something that's already free to their advantage and really engaging with their customers. So that would be ideal for a business like that. And because a lot of money is going toward social media. I mean, if you talk to any millennial here, they don't know life without a computer, or you know, they're just digitally connected, and so that plays a role on how brands are using social media. Instagram it's you know, pictures. Again, a lot of businesses like Lowe's or Home Depot are using those, you know, to post different things, to post a lot of creative things. I follow them because that's, you know, I'm involved in public relations, and so that is of interest to me because, you know, I apply it to my other clients as well.
All right.
I would say keep in mind that, I mean, people follow people. So, I mean,
That's true.
if you can connect with people, then, unless you're like a really big brand like Apple or Lowe's, they're not going to follow you just because you're TBH or something.
Well,
So,
thank you, man.
Speaking of following, we have to follow ourselves out of the studio right now because we're running out of time. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
All y'all are wonderful, and please come back. And you know, I'm actually having Facebook withdrawals right now. I gave it up for Lent.
Withdraw.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
It's been hard.
Hey guys, you want to make $1 million bucks? Do social media for dummies. That'll be great. I'll buy that book.
So on that note, thank you so much. And if you're out there watching, make sure that you protect your brand, who you are on Facebook and whatever you do on social media. Please be careful. People will always find out. And if you're afraid of telling your own preacher, pastor, padre, whatever you want to call them, or spiritual guider, please don't post it on social media because they're going to find out who said it and how they said it, okay? So that being said, thank you for watching Latino Talk TV. Have a great night. See you here next week.